Today we are making the ultimate vegan fried mushroom. Better than fried chicken. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's do it. Oyster mushrooms are the jam, and they're actually pretty easy to grow if you live in a humid environment. And if you don't, you can create that environment yourself in your house or in your garage. Like I said, I'm obsessed with oyster mushrooms, and I'm going to detail a little bit below so you can learn about how to make it at home, so you can save some money, grow some incredible mushrooms, and be the little farmers that you all are. For today's mushroom wings, I am using the Outstanding Foods PigOut Seasonings. We're using the original, the Hella Hot, white cheddar, and the KC barbecue. Yum. I'll talk more about these later. For today's recipe, we are using beautiful black oyster mushrooms, and I love this kind of mushroom for the fried mushroom just because it has so much texture, so much dimension, and it's also really hearty and meaty. Oyster mushrooms come in many different colors, and they contain vitamin D, protein, fiber, potassium, vitamin B6, folate. They're just an all-around powerhouse. So we're just gonna wash off our mushrooms here with a wet rag, getting any dirt and debris off. If you run these under the water, they're so porous, so they'll just absorb tons of water. So it's best to clean them like this. So today I'm showing you how to spice your batters two different ways. You can do the individually spiced batter, which is essentially just adding in your flour, garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, or any other chili powder that you like, salt, and setting that aside as your dry batter. And then for the wet batter, I'm using flour, plant milk. I'm using unsweetened soy milk here, water, some more garlic powder, onion powder, beautiful turmeric powder, a bit of black pepper, and then separately mixing both of the batters. If your wet batter feels a little thick, add a little bit more water or plant milk. Giving my dry batter a good mix here. So that's your first option when you do your batters. The second option is just a ready blend spice batter. And all this means is doing the exact same thing, but instead of adding the spices individually, finding a ready spice blend that has all of that in there already. So for the second method, I have my flour in the bowl and a bit of the original PigOut seasoning from Outstanding Foods. This seasoning has tons of flavor, and it tastes really similar to bacon and has a really beautiful, nice, smoky, charred flavor. And that's the simple spice batter. Just your seasoning, just your flour. And for the wet batter, I did the same thing. Flour, the original seasoning from Outstanding Foods, and then plant milk and water. So both of those are super simple to do. And now we're just going to be putting our mushrooms into the wet. And then into the dry batter, giving it a good mix and setting it aside ready for frying. You can do these by hand, or you can put the dry batter in a big paper bag and give everything a good mix that way. But I'm just doing it by hand. Onto the beautiful buffalo sauce. I'm adding in some butter here, agave syrup, some of my favorite hot sauce, and to give it a bit of a kick, I'm adding in the Hella Hot seasoning by Outstanding Foods. This seasoning has habanero pepper, ghost pepper chili. You can add a little or a lot of this depending on how hot you want them. Super simple, just mix everything on low heat together and then set it aside when you're ready to toss your wings. And for the rest of these beautiful seasonings, I'm going to be sprinkling them on top at the very end. This company is The Jam. I actually met them years ago when I went to this taste testing for their first product, which was a mushroom chip. Until I tasted their chip, I actually had never tried anything vegan that tasted remotely similar to bacon, and wow, they got it right. And back to the recipe. And for frying, I always make sure that the oil blend that I'm using does not contain palm oil. A big fat no to palm oil unless it's sustainably sourced. On my countertop fryer, I'm setting it to wings, which makes it 355 degrees Fahrenheit. Getting a cooling station ready with a rack and some parchment paper on the bottom, and then we are ready to fry. In my fryer, I typically put 3 wings at a time, just not to overcrowd. And then once these start frying in the oil, this typically takes about 5 to 7 minutes, flipping them over halfway. And depending on how crunchy you want these to be, you can leave them in for longer or take them out earlier if you are not into the big crunch. As for I love a crunch, big ol' crunch. If someone likes their wings to be more on the meaty side, then just make sure that they get the big ol' oyster mushrooms. And if you enjoy more of a smaller, crispier wing, then just make sure that you're using smaller pieces of mushroom. There is a mushroom for everybody. Now I'm going to slather on this beautiful sauce amped up by Outstanding Foods. I'm gonna be quiet here so we can just enjoy this visual. Sprinkling on some beautiful KC barbecue. This one is divine. Some white cheddar. Oh, who would have thought that those two would ever go together? And then the OG original bacon. All 4 of these are just mind-blowing. It's just ridiculous.
That's so good. I've waited months for this. Not even months. Months! It's so good.
Something that I hear all of the time from non-vegans and vegans is if you don't eat animal products, then why eat foods that mimic the taste, texture, flavor profile if you're vegan? Short answer is not every vegan that is against the exploitation of animals automatically dislikes the taste of animal products. When you eat something your entire life, your palate is keen on those flavors. So to just automatically remove them might be a lot for a lot of people. Also keeping in mind that a lot of meat products that we eat in today's society are paired with plants, and that's what enhances the flavor. So the rubs, the sauces, the spices, all of that, plants. There's so many people who want to become vegan but don't know how to kick the habits and the cravings that come along with eating animal products. And without getting too scientific, there's so many compounds found in animal products and byproducts that are really addictive, like casein, for instance. But products that mimic animal foods and flavor are gonna be so pivotal in people's lives who are making that transition from eating the really animal-rich diet. Well, honestly, I'm just so stoked to see and be a part of the future for food, where we can eat super healthy, nutrient-dense foods that also reject animal exploitation and harm to our environment, while also eating super awesome, cheap foods like fried mushrooms every once in a while too. In my opinion, foods like this are the gateway for people to try vegan food, and we all deserve a fried mushroom every once in a while.